Nen Transmutation explained, I wanna know.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
This is brainwashing.
久しぶり.
What the?
Hello and welcome to the New World Review, your source
Welcome.
for everything anime and manga, and today
Thank you for the nightmare.
it's time to continue our deep dive into Hunter x Hunter's Nen-based power system, with this edition focusing on
Nobody's specializations.
the affinity of transmutation. And once again, before we hop into things proper, I would like to direct you to this video if you are not familiar with the very basic concepts of Nen, which we will be taking as assumed knowledge for these videos, so please do feel free to check that out. But otherwise,
It's better if you don't understand.
commencing things immediately, transmutation is
Because learning without knowing and never learning is important.
basically the process of transforming one's aura into a substance, be that substance natural or man-made. And I suppose more accurately you would say transforming one's aura into
How cute to make a rabbit.
a new substance that mimics the properties of what the user is trying to achieve. But it is generally either far more potent or far more versatile than the original substance being mimicked. And for a very basic example of this, we have the poster boy of transmutation.
Yes, everybody tries with their toys. Like, there's a guy with a toy and he uses a toy like a Nen. But Killua uses electricity because this was his toy. His family put shocks on him and all the time he's electrified every time. So I think this reminds his childhood.
Killua Zoldyck, who very much uses his natural affinity to transmute aura into electricity.
He had a beautiful childhood.
And with this in mind, already I very much need to point out a common confusion, which is that transmutation is often mixed up with conjuration. However, the primary difference between the two is that conjuration results in its user creating a natural substance with their aura, whereas transmutation merely mimics it. I mean, I say merely, if anything not being restricted by natural laws allows transmutation to be far more powerful in many respects.
I think it's one of the coolest. Maybe it's the coolest type.
But that isn't to say that conjuration doesn't come with its own options to be a more unique creation, but that is a video for another time. In terms of
The next one, I'm gonna say that's the best.
personality definition of a transmuter,
I'm
according
gonna say this every video.
to Mr. Hisoka though, who very notably is a natural transmuter himself, he posits a theory that transmuters are quite whimsical, fickle, and prone to deceit, which is effectively just describing himself.
Ah, they're cute. Like,
So prone to engaging in deceit, that is, rather than being
it's so whimsical. It's so cute.
subject to it. So in Hisoka's
He's just a psychopath, to be honest.
definition, many transmuters will present themselves with either a facade-style persona to hide their true intentions, or do whatever they can to remain in the shadows, not revealing themselves until an opportunity arises to strike. Both of which are quite true in regard to most transmuters we encounter in the series.
So they're all liars. They are all hiding something.
Most
You can never trust them.
definitely not all. Now in regards to the Nen Ring, transmutation happens to be sandwiched by conjuration and enhancement, which I suspect is a pretty nice place to be sitting, because it gives a transmuter options in terms of providing themselves with a sturdy defense via enhancement, or even more versatility with crafting via conjuration. But as
I think the worst is the ones who are close to the specialization because it's harder for you. You're
with
far
a sturdy
away.
defense via enhancement, or even more versatility with crafting via conjuration. But as a result, transmutation is a much less balanced affinity than, say, enhancement, because this is an example where Nen combat becomes entirely
I love this guy. I think it's so sad. Nobody respects and loves this guy. He needs love.
dependent on the user's manifestation of a Hatsu. You could very easily find yourself in a scissors paper rock scenario, whereby the substance a user has chosen to transmute is hard countered by that of another Nen user, or it could be the opposite, and your chosen substance could provide you
This
an
is the coolest fight in Hunter x Hunter for
automatic
me.
win due to a very favorable matchup. So things are quite high risk, high reward, and the better transmuters in the series tend to be those who have chosen to mimic a substance that allows them the most versatility possible, which transmutation very much favors. And in that regard,
Imagine if one use shit as this transmutation. I want to use a substance and it's shit, and he has shit over him. He protects himself with a great armor made of shit. I think
find
it's the
many
greatest
non-natural
character in Hunter x Hunter history.
transmuters who also make great use of the discipline to produce their particular abilities. But to begin this exploration properly, we first need to examine Hisoka, who is what I would label a pretty damn perfect transmuter. And the substance that he has chosen to evoke appears in the form of bungee gum, a classic Mimi Hatsu that is well known for possessing the properties of both rubber and gum. But memes aside, this is an important examination because it is a
This is the coolest because it's so simple and it's so complex. He can do whatever he wants with this.
perfect display of transmutation, mimicking and compounding to craft a new and unique substance that is both sticky and elastic, depending on when Hisoka wants it.
But he's disgusting. Imagine having to hug this guy. Ugh. Ugh, no.
be
I
either
don't
one
want to feel those weird name things around my body.
of those things. So the gum portion of the ability is what makes it sticky, but the substance
Catching his prey. This is like a fisherman.
transmuted is unnaturally sticky, and if bungee gum becomes attached to someone or something, then it is practically impossible to remove without Hisoka dispelling his own aura. And as for the secondary aspect, which mimics rubber, well, this imbues bungee gum with an unnatural level of elasticity, allowing Hisoka to be granted access to great speed and force, particularly when used in combination with the sticky aspect. So one great example would be that Hisoka often always has a sneaky escape route in action where he sticks bungee gum to a flat surface in his surroundings, and then if he is ever in trouble, he will immediately evoke the elasticity aspect to pull him instantly towards the affected surface at great speed, thus giving him something of an escape pod. And of course, this can also be used defensively by sticking bungee
It's so beautiful, the dodgeball episode.
gum to an opponent and then pulling them towards him and striking them.
I think that, to be honest, I prefer the dodgeball. I think the dodgeball battle was more emotional to me than Meruem versus Netero, you know? I think
exceptional damage as a result
I
of the
think this
force
was more beautiful.
generated by the elastic momentum. And
You
in
see
the
the power of friendship.
hands of Hisoka, this has become one of the most versatile Nen abilities in existence, which is a pretty solid goal for any transmuter. To examine another use, let's turn back to Killua now, who, as stated before, can transmute his aura into electricity. Although this is not as simple as it sounds, and this option would not be available to your average transmuter. This is because the thing about transmutation is that you really do need a profound understanding of the substance that you are trying to mimic or create. You can't just go, hey, let's make some electricity, and expect that
So you have to know electricity. You have to put yourself into shocking moments. Like if you want fire, burn yourself. Oh shit, no.
to turn out particularly well if you are not intimately familiar.
Yeah, my character that I created the shit man, who uses transmutation to use his own shit. I think he's not gonna be on the Dark Continent.
With the power of it, which Killua is because as part of his assassin training, he was regularly subject to electrical torture, which has given him the aforementioned profound understanding of electricity as a substance. So his intimate familiarity with it is what allows him to mimic it so well through his aura. However, in this case, it's also not a simple matter of directly converting aura into electricity, as it may be with other substance of transmuters. And in fact, Killua, as with most electrical appliances, actually needs a source of input, which is generally achieved by charging himself, which can manifest in the form of a self-tasing. And not only that, but due to the
I want to know the feeling. He never says the feeling because everything I guess about electricity is how does it feel? But he doesn't say. He looks calm. I don't think I would be calm.
consuming and volatile
I think I could be calm.
nature of
But
electricity, it
not
also
all
puts a
calm.
strict limitation of how much Killua can transmute before completely depleting his aura reserves. And rather unfortunately, Killua at this stage is not able to entirely judge how quickly this happens in correlation to his various electrical based Hatsu, meaning that he is liable to run out of aura at unexpected times, which can be extraordinarily problematic. But hey, that is just the cost that Killua needs to pay for transmuting such a
And his heart. His heart doesn't suffer with that.
substance. So once again, a great example
If his brother tries that, the one with the computer, he's gonna die. He doesn't have a heart for this.
of transmutation being high risk, high reward. For a more tangible expression of transmutation though, I would now like to place our focus on Machi, the medical professional of the Phantom Troop. Now in Machi's case, she transmutes her aura into threads, which can swiftly close open wounds or even reattach entire limbs with great ease. So in this case, we would assume that Machi is obviously not conjuring simple realistic threads, and she is in fact imbuing them with some sort of highly regenerative properties, which could very well be the result of another discipline. However, at the moment, transmutation is the only brand credited with Machi's Nen stitches. And Machi has further stated that the strength of her stitches are in direct correlation to their length, so she could transmute one that is allegedly as long as the diameter of the planet.
I love this character. I think she should have more battles. We
Which-
don't see her much. She's more like a support character.
With the discovery of the
She heals, I think.
Dark Continent is an insane and probably highly hyperbolic thought, but in any case, that thread would only be about as powerful as a standard piece of cotton. Inversely, if her thread is only a meter long, then according to Machi, it would be strong enough to lift an entire ton all on its own. So this is undoubtedly an incredibly high-level invocation of transmutation. And of course, as with many string users in anime and manga, Machi can also put these to use to manipulate any target she desires, although very notably, this is without invoking the practice of manipulation.
That's why Hisoka is such a douchebag. Because he can do this and she can cure him.
Machi just transmutes threads and
She
attach.
should say, okay, I'm gonna cure you. I'm gonna help your arm, but I'm gonna make you wait for 1 month. 1 month, you need to live your life without an arm. so you can understand the troubles of life, and then you can have your arm back. And then he's gonna think twice before losing his arm. I'm always thinking twice before losing my arm. I never let my arm to
whoever or whatever she so desires, and then controls them like a very basic puppet. One lesser known transmuter though comes to mind in the form of Biscuit Kruger, better known as simply Bisky. And I think she gets forgotten about quite a bit because her trademark Hatsu, being body transformation, is highly unlikely to be attributed to transmutation, and in fact it's currently completely unknown what brand,
I think she's enhancement.
or brands plural of Nen, that Bisky uses to achieve this. In fact, I'd wager that even
Because she does the same thing Gon does.
she herself does not know, given that this was a completely subconscious ability that spawned from her intense desire to have her ideal cutesy body. But Bisky's primary use of transmutation comes in the form of her Nen masseuse Cookie, who I'm honestly not sure how she gets brought into existence. Only transmutation and manipulation are credited with
I think she's just a ghost or an angel or something like that. I don't think she's Nen.
creating Cookie. However, there has to be some sort of either conjuration or emission at play in order to create a Nen beast, so that's an intriguing thought. More than likely conjuration, given where Bisky is on the Nen ring. But Bisky invokes transmutation specifically to turn her aura into a special massage lotion, a kind of miracle lotion if you will, that relieves fatigue and restores vitality to those massaged with it at an exceptional rate. With 30 minutes
this
of
is my power, not massage, but healing myself. I'm always healing myself. I'm always sitting like a monk, meditating until I'm shining.
particular technique said to bestow the benefits of 8 hours of sleep. And apparently this transmuted lotion can also be used to effectively treat aging, which is a very interesting proposition. You know, using your own aura, aka
That's why she's like 400 years old.
a life force, to restore some youth to either yourself or another. It does make sense though, because many people tend to use Nen to slow down their own aging. But what Bisky is doing here is certainly underappreciated. She is basically transmuting her own aura into this miracle substance with the condition that it has to be applied by Cookie. Pretty damn incredible stuff, and a great example of transmutation not necessarily needing to be applied to the combative realm. Now for this exploration of transmutation,
Wait, his transmutation?
I also want to focus a bit on Moral, who is actually a natural manipulator, but that aside, he is actually one of the finest uses of transmutation that we have seen in the series, which appears in his trademark ability, Deep Purple.
My favorite battle, I forgot this, when he fights the cheetah.
Now, each and every time I bring this up, without fail, I have a ton of people arguing with me that this is not transmutation, but those people are simply wrong. What Moral does is a complicated process of emitting a core of his aura, and then transmuting another portion of his aura into a special smoke through his pipe, and then covering the aura core,
And then manipulating them. He's using everything.
and going on to manipulate his creations via this process. Moral does not use actual smoke. I cannot emphasize that enough. If he did,
He's creating. Wait, so he doesn't inhale, he exhales. So he smokes like that. What? This is
Then
a
it
big revelation.
would not have been possible to generate smoke in his
I
pipe.
thought this guy was just smoking all the time like crazy. And we don't know what's inside of this. It can be opium.
Against Leol, where
I always thought it was opium.
he was even able
like
to
an
craft
old Chinese guy.
smoke underwater. And if you want even more evidence, then check out chapter 244, where Moral quite literally states that he uses an aura of smoke. But with that necessary business out of the way, Moral does need to be highlighted because as
So he's not a smoker. He's not smoking. But this is his main characteristic, his main trait.
an
He's not smoking. What the f?
manipulator, transmutation
He's
is
nothing without smoking.
actually his weakest affinity on the Nen ring, his exact opposite. And therefore common Nen theory would state that he would not be able to control it as well as anything else, but that only goes to show how much of a godly Nen user Moral is, incorporating his weakest aspect into his two most powerful, being manipulation and emission. It's a great example of how just a spot of transmutation can be wielded as something of a Swiss Army knife, becoming a utility to realize almost any Hatsu that one can dream of, even if you are not 100% proficient in it. And as for another non-natural transmutation,
I think he can chat with those guys. I think this is a great group of friends.
even if
I think I would talk to my invisible magical friends.
you are not 100% proficient in it. As for another non-natural transmuter, we have Isaac Netero, who is an enhancer, and he invokes transmutation for
I think he's transmuting, I don't know, maybe souls.
his last-ditch effort attack being Zero Hand, transforming his aura into an unparalleled destructive power designed to utterly decimate any body caught in its path. Even though the one time we saw it used, it certainly did not quite
Wait, he has a dick. No.
might have that effect. It's quite interesting to think about what kind of destructive element Netero chose as inspiration for this attack though, because it's clearly not just basic aura. And if you were to take the manga reading literally, which is fired in a flare like a dazzling star, then it almost implies that we're transmuting aura into a miniature supernova. And it was also stated that Netero meditated for days on end just to prepare this
I'm like Netero. I'm meditating right now. You think I'm thinking about things. I'm not thinking anything.
technique.
My head is empty like Netero's. I'm just empty vessel.
So I imagine that would have been his form of image training, which is much more relevant to the concept of conjuration, but still very important for transmutation, because as I've stated multiple times, you need to be very familiar with the element that you are turning your aura into. Now, as for some other notable
Wait, he's turning his aura into aura because his nature is having a lot of aura because he's an aura character. So his aura is aura.
transmuters, I would be remiss not to mention both Xeno and Silver Zoldyck, who very much adhere to the family tradition of white-haired Zoldicks being transmuters. And Xeno masterfully wields this to transmute his aura into the form of a dragon, or at the very least an aura dragon, I guess. But it does go on to mimic the properties of the beast and even allows people to ride on it for fun transport times.
it's a clear line.
It is of course exceptionally versatile though, especially when Xeno combines it with a mission, allowing him to separate the transmuter dragon from his body and strike out at enemies or even deal with mass quantities of opponents through the dragon dive technique, which separates his giant dragon into hundreds of teeny tiny dragons.
I think this is the best friendship. I want to have a friend. I want to have a friend. What a sad thing to say. I'm not saying I don't have friends. I wanna be old with my friends and do stuff like that, riding dragons over the skies,
The rain held down upon
destroying insects and dying.
any given area. And as for Silver, his demonstration of Nen thus far has been much more simple, with him transmuting his aura into some big old balls of something, and then separating them with a mission for a projectile attack. And it's very, very tempting to confuse this with aura emission, because this is very similar to what emitters do, create balls of aura and then chuck them at people. However, this Hatsu is almost certainly constructed through some sort of special property via transmutation, because they did have something of an electrical quality to them, whereas raw emissive aura is a very simplistic existence and not at all
Wait, the mission's the most simple.
capable of such complexity without further input from its user in one of the other areas of Nen. So do not confuse Silver as an emitter, he is most definitely a transmuter. And of course we would be remiss not to mention
This is the coolest character, I have to say this. I love this guy.
Phaeton, who is a natural transmuter, with his specific
Yes, he makes the sun. I think he's the strongest.
use of the affinity becoming very, very clear in the absurdly powerful attack that is Rising Sun, whereby Phaeton transmutes his aura into heat, scorching heat that eviscerates his target to such
Bro, how you practice this? It's impossible. You need to burn your family. You need to burn everybody you know. You need to burn the citizens. You need to burn yourself.
degree that even
Where do you have enough space to practice this?
the other members of the Phantom Troop were afraid of coming into contact with it. Also, with the assistance of a mission, of course. And that's a fairly solid general overview of transmutation. On its own, it's probably one of the most favorable affinities to be granted, because with the right user, transmutation can very much stand on its own two legs, as seen with Hisoka and Killua. However, the discipline is also so versatile that it can even be incorporated into the Hatsu of those with the lowest possible natural affinity for transmutation and still result in incredible outcomes.
Wait, his glasses are incomplete. A man with glasses incomplete. It's a sad man.
Although,
I love this guy. I love this character. I'm trashing him just for fun.
once again, it does take an exceptional Nen user to perform this adequately. Transmutation, though, is what I would call an essential aspect of Nen, and no matter what natural affinity you are, I would definitely be looking to dip into
I
it.
think I'm specialization because I'm so different inside my head that I'm different outside the aura.
In some way, shape, or form. But what do you guys think?
I don't think